It's time for the Douglas Coleman Show. Mr. Smooth and Savvy is joined by guests from all walks of life, from the entertainment industry to authors to political and social commentators, the famous and not so famous, the controversial and the light and fluffy. We have it all. Now, here's Douglas Coleman.
Okay, please welcome to the Douglas Coleman Show, Peter Vekselman. Hi, Peter. How are you?
I'm great. Great. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for coming on the show. It's nice to have you with us. So you're the CEO of Partner-Driven Real Estate Investing, okay? And it says you've done over 3,600 deals. That's a lot of deals. So I think you've been doing this for a while. This is different than a broker, right? You're not Century 21.
No, that's a real estate agent. I'm actually I'm the investor. I'm the person that buys it, does something to it, like maybe fix it, and then sells it off. Okay,
and you've done 3,600 of these?
Done a lot of deals. Yep,
wow.
In the thousands at this point over the last couple decades.
How'd you get started doing that?
Really by accident, as so many things happen in life. I got out of a totally unrelated business, was trying to figure out what to do with my life. Somebody handed me a book called Deals on Wheels by Lonnie Scruggs. I read it and thought it was the most unbelievable thing. It was actually about mobile homes, not totally real estate, but close enough. Called him up, researched who he was and, what his number was. I called him, went to a seminar of his, bought my first mobile home at that point, and that's kind of how my career began, literally having dinner with somebody and them handing me a book many, many years ago now. And then, slowly I stuck with the mobile homes for about 3 years and then transitioned into real estate.
Okay. Well, it sounds very interesting. And I've heard about people that flip real estate, and obviously people can be very successful at doing so. Now, are you teaching this? I mean, does your company, is it like a holding company, or are you more like teaching other people and taking in other people to do this?
Yeah, no, what we are is an investment company, but we do have an unusual model in that all the deals I do are with people, everyday people across the United States. And so our commitment to these people is we coach them, we train them, we actually spend money in the markets they live in, and we generate leads for them right in their own cities. We provide them technology to make decisions about whether something's a good deal or a bad deal. Our back office becomes their back office, which is very important. I provide them the money that they need to do deals, so the partners don't have to spend any money out of pocket. Our construction outfit has the ability to get in there, help them fix it, and then we just put them in the market, sell them, and split the profits down the middle, 50-50. So that's how the model works. So what makes this model so unusual is that I don't do my own deals. I partner with everyday people and basically provide them what are known as pillars of success, so they themselves can become exorbitantly savvy real estate investors.
Oh, wait a minute. You provide 100% of the capital for them?
On top of that, I provide all the money. That's exactly right. We provide them all the other essentials. People like you just, they gravitate towards capital because that's the catchy thing. But there's a lot of, we provide them the coaching, the knowledge, we provide leads, we provide technology, and on top of that, you're absolutely right, provide the capital to do the deals.
Well, I guess it begs the question, why would you need the other person then? I mean, why couldn't you just do that yourself?
Well, that's a great question. So for anyone that knows real estate is really a local business. You always have to have some kind of local market presence if you're going to be successful in this industry. And so that's what they do. Our local partners give us that not only an advantage in the marketplace, but really a necessity in the marketplace by being kind of our eyes and ears in whatever marketplace we're doing deals with them in. So you're right. I'd say probably we provide 80 to 90%, probably closer to 90% of everything that's needed, but that last 10% they provide is still an important part of the puzzle.
Okay, but these particular properties would not necessarily be something that the person's going to buy and then say, oh, I want to stay here. The intent is to flip it, right? They wouldn't live there?
100% of them are investment-grade properties. Not necessarily investment-grade, but that's right. 100% of these properties are bought for the purpose of buying them, doing something to them, like fixing them, putting them back in the market, selling them, and realizing a profit. That's exactly right. That's how the model works. You got it.
So the other person, I mean, it's that valuable, their insight, because they're local?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm sure you talk to enough business people on your show that just because something is not a huge part of the pie doesn't mean it's not an important part of the pie. So yes, what they provide is not the major piece of the pie, but it is a critical piece of the pie, and that is having that local market presence, those local eyes and ears of what to be successful.
So what sort of criteria do you have for accepting people into this deal?
Well, look, we're looking for people that are coachable, because most people don't know real estate at the level we're at. You got to be long-term player. Nothing in real estate happens overnight, so people are looking for quick get-rich schemes. This isn't the way to do it. They got to be humble about their success. So just really the basic traits that you would need to possess if you were going to be successful in whatever industry that you decide to be successful in. So I always tell people that you got to be coachable, and you got to be a long-term player, and you got to want to level up. There's got to be something that you don't have currently right now at your job, at your business, at whatever you're doing. You got to want to get us to those next levels.
Okay, so there's no out-of-pocket expense for the person coming in, or is there?
Once they start, there is not. There is a fee that they have to pay to join, but compared to if they want to do this themselves, it's peanuts. It literally is peanuts. They got two options: go out there and try to do it themselves, which is very difficult, stressful, expensive, risky, long-term, or they could utilize someone like me from a partnership perspective. Still put some money up front, but it's nominal compared to what they would have to, if they did themselves. But on top of that, they avoid the risk. They have no liability. They have no downside. They have a team that they actually step into right away. So that the upside is tremendous for our local partners. Tremendous.
Okay. Well, it's very interesting to me because I kind of stumbled into a deal like that by accident. In 2011, I bought a condo in Las Vegas, which was right at the bottom of the market at that time. Mm-hmm. I paid $50,000 for the condo, and then 10 years later sold it for $200,000. And
you get it.
Yeah, it was a great deal, and it was easy. It took me 19 days to sell it from the time I listed it till the time we closed. It was incredible. So
you can imagine, instead of doing it by accident, doing it on purpose and doing it over and over and over again. You could see why somebody would get very excited about this industry, right?
Oh, well, definitely. So how many people do you have under your umbrella?
We usually have about 100 or so rotating that are active, 100, 150 that are active.
Okay. Let me ask you something about the properties, generally speaking. Is it generally like a rundown house that just needs a complete gut and refurb? Or is this commercial property, or is it all of the above?
Well, it is houses. I stay in a lane that I understand, and that happens to be houses, single-family houses. And it does usually entail something that has some kind of an upside to it. And in real estate, an upside usually means some kind of work needs to be done. It doesn't mean it's a totally gutted-out property. It doesn't mean it needs, a total renovation. But it does mean there's got to be something we should be able to do to it to increase its value. Usually that is tied into some kind of work. Yes, sir.
Okay. And you'd have to factor in that as well, right, when you sell it? Well, you're going to have to put...
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Real estate is real estate, but really what real estate is, it's a numbers business. It's numbers determine good deal, bad deal, how much do you pay, how much do you sell it for, how much do you spend fixing it, what do you pay for your money. It's all driven by numbers. That's
okay.
Right. It's all factored in there.
Do you do knockdowns as well?
No, because knockdowns you get into new construction. New construction is a totally different animal. And right now, with the market being in a state of flux that it's in, very, very downward spiral in a lot of places, you really want to get into something that you can get in and get out over a reasonable amount of time, 3, 4, 5 months maybe, not something like new construction that could take months and months and months, sometimes a year, even more.
Okay. What would be it's a little complicated question. Would there be any kind of properties that you just would not take? I mean, particularly bad neighborhoods or bad areas or something like that, where it just wouldn't be worth doing it financially?
What wouldn't be worth doing is not where it's located. What wouldn't be worth doing is when the numbers don't make sense. Okay? So again, it's a numbers-driven business. So, since we're not living in them, or our partners aren't living in them, we don't have any kind of special affinity to them. So whether they're in a great neighborhood or a bad neighborhood is not the important piece. You did hit on one before this, so something like a tear down, but that gets into new construction. So as long as it could be fixed and the numbers make sense, that is something we're definitely interested in at least taking a look at.
Okay, all right. So you would send your people out or yourself, and you'd go look at the property first and decide if this was going to be worth it. Would you do it in person?
Well, no, that's why we have our local partners. They're
Oh, they do that.
Ears. I mean, we have other. That's right. We have other ways of doing due diligence and inspections and stuff like that. We can hire third-party professionals, but yeah, it all starts at that local partners level. That's correct.
Okay. Where are the good markets right now? Where is the turnover doing well? Because
I'm not big into chasing markets. I'm more into chasing the right people. Because look, even think about where you live, right?
Yeah.
Go a mile down the road from where you're sitting right now. It's kind of a different market already, isn't it? And then go another 5 miles down the road. It's a totally different market. So real estate is not really a market-driven business. It's more or less of a pocket-driven business.
Well, that's very
more
true.
important to us. What's that?
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So it's more of a pocket-driven business, but to us, our partners is really the key to this. Having the right partner who's coachable, again, got those, keys to success traits. That's what we're chasing, the right partners.
Well, real estate's kind of a crazy business. I mean, and especially here in Las Vegas, it's so volatile compared to other parts of the country. Right now, the market is pretty high, but it's kind of flattening out. But when I came in 2011, I mean, they were giving them away. So, and it's happened before. They had another crash back in the late 90s, and the only industry in Vegas is gambling, really. But as more stuff comes in, I hope it keeps the values up, because I would hate for where I'm living now to go to $50,000 and you'd have to walk away from it like all the other people did.
Well, I could tell you that's not a Vegas phenomenon. It's real estate. Real estate goes up, it goes down, it fluctuates. It's easy money, it's difficult money. Interest rates are high, interest rates are low. It's just the nature of the beast. So to be a successful real estate investor, you don't want to go in from kind of, wow, I timed this market perfectly. You really got to understand how to write it up and how to write it down if you want to have any kind of a longevity in this business. So, again, that's nothing to do with real estate. I'm sorry, with Vegas market. That's pretty much across the board how real estate works and operates.
Well, that's good to know. Is there one sort of number that you need to hit? In other words, you buy a piece of property, you put in X amount to fix it up and turn it over. Do you need to do, 100%, 50%? What do you look for as far as a return?
We're looking for equity in our deals, and really the equity we're looking for about 30 to 35% equity. So if we got a property that's ultimately worth $100,000, we want to be into about $65,000 all in and or under. That's kind of a rule of thumb. Obviously there's some gray areas to be working in, but that's a good way to look at it. About 65% equity once you're all in.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, Peter, I think we've covered just about everything. Was there anything else you wanted to mention?
No. If somebody's interested in joining or finding out about what we do, they can go to our website, partnerdriven.com, and put their information in. We'll touch base and see if we're a good fit. But other than that, I'm good.
Okay. Well, thanks for coming on the show. This was interesting.
My pleasure.
Best of luck with everything you're doing.
Thank you.
You're listening to Mr. Smooth and Savvy right here on the Douglas Coleman Show. We'll be right back after these commercial messages.
Douglas Coleman's Don't Do a Podcast is a dryly humorous rant about Douglas's pet peeve, the unrelenting torrent of podcasts hitting the web on a constant basis. As technology has put podcasting within the reach of anyone, many wholly unqualified people have taken the plunge. This witty polemic tries to persuade them from broadcasting their drivel using Douglas's brand of sarcastic humor. Now on Amazon, only 99 cents.
DJC Music and DJC Productions are pleased to announce a brand new website. We have started a listing website for radio show hosts as well as potential show guests. This is a meeting site where hosts and guests can come together. Show hosts can list their show and types of guests they're interested in booking. Potential guests can list their talents, bio, accomplishments, or anything they feel makes them an interesting radio show guest. There are no recurrent payments, only a one-time $5 listing fee. Your listing will stay up until you decide to cancel. Previous guests of The Douglas Coleman Show are welcome to submit their guest listing free of charge. Go to radiohostsandguests.com. That's radiohostsandguests.com.
Are you an independent musician? How would you like to have your songs played on hundreds of radio stations just like the one you're listening to right now? Join MusicSubmit.com and we'll promote your music to radio stations and blogs in your genre. It's free to set up your account, and we guarantee your music will be considered for airplay by radio stations worldwide. Why not sign up today? It's free. MusicSubmit.com. Radio promotion for indie musicians.
Hey, this is Ray Powers. Don't touch anything. You've got it right where you need it. Tuned in to the Douglas Coleman Show. You heard me.
Okay, please welcome to the Douglas Coleman Show, Natalie Kohlhaas. Hi, Natalie. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing today, Doug?
Doing fine, thank you. Thank you for coming on this show. Nice to have you with us. And today we're going to be talking about your book. You've got a book out called Hello, Anxiety, My Old Friend, which is a take from a Simon and Garfunkel song, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
You got it.
All right, well, I'm old enough to remember that. Okay, well, nice title. And just to give people a little bit of background, you're the founder and director of Integrative Mental Health Counseling. And I found this interesting because it says it's been a lifelong dream of yours to develop a comprehensive facility where people could be treated as a whole person by a group of mental health professionals. Now, typically, mental health did not deal with the body or the spirit. I mean, they didn't care how bad physically you were in health. It was only about the mind they were concerned about.
So what we were looking for was being able to combine individuals who are not only addressing issues where the mind was maybe creating difficulties or challenges, but we also have someone who is an acupuncturist. So pulling together the energies that we're working on, helping people to move through their anxiety in those types of ways. We also have someone that we work with who's a massage therapist to help their body to release all of the struggles or tensions that they have encountered. So we try to create a comprehensive facility where people can access what they're needing, but also have it accessed in different ways. We also work directly with a physician who helps people to figure out what is their best nutrition, how is it that they can move forward. Again, all of these complementary pieces come together in order for the individual to be able to reach for their best self and have as much support as possible.
Well, it makes perfect sense. And I would suggest that poor nutrition could also add to people's stress and anxiety level, yeah?
Yes, correct. So, we have to always be cautious about what we're putting into our body, whether we're putting in negative thoughts or we're putting in things that are creating fear in our life, or we're putting in chemicals to our system that is going to make our system very difficult in being able to figure out how does it regulate. And again, how can all of the genes and chromosomes have an environment that allows them to reproduce in a way that feels more balanced, more at ease, and more calm.
Well, I know years ago there was a book that came out called Sugar Blues, and it talked about how people were getting sugar high from eating all kinds of chocolates and sweets and everything. And then you would crash from the sugar high. And a lot of people went into depression because of that.
Yeah. And in fact, we find a very similarity with people who have anxiety. Anxiety actually goes in opposite directions. So if you are taking in a lot of sugar and your insulin levels are rising rapidly, those kind of things actually will increase your anxiety. And then when they crash, you're also going to then go into a place where you're going to have a depression. So one of the things that we often work with our clients on is how do we maintain that level? So, we're going to have a natural kind of wave that goes on, but we don't want these extreme highs and extreme lows. I do, and I see this a lot with the teens that we work with. They don't want to eat breakfast. They just want to grab a candy bar. They run to school. They don't like the lunch. Now they're starting to crash. They're not having enough energy. Their anxiety is going through the roof. They come home. They start melting down, and they have to do homework. So we really need to work with them on, we need to find a way to keep protein level, because proteins are going to be digested in a slower manner, right, than our sugars, and it's going to keep you more emotionally stable if we can also regulate and stabilize your proteins. So it all works together, right? All of those are going off. It's creating difficulties or challenges mentally, but they are so interconnected, and we don't want people to lose sight of that.
Okay. How big of a organization is this?
So we currently have 6 different practitioners and 1 medical individual working for us.
Okay. And you see patients in person or online or both?
So we do both. So many people have gotten to the place where they're kind of over doing the video and the telehealth. They really just want to come in and connect with a person. So we are doing in person, and we're seeing people face to face. But of course, there are times when it just makes more sense for us to do telehealth. And we attempt to do that by video, if at all possible, so that they can see us and we can see them. So we're doing a combination of that. We also have different groups that go on, and we have people who come in for those groups.
Okay. Who are the people that you primarily see? What would be their reason for coming to you? Is it varied, or do you have one that's kind of a majority of your patients?
So our niche that we work in are people who are experiencing anxiety. So when they're coming to us, their anxiety has gotten to a level where it's no longer useful and it is disrupting their life. What we find, though, right, anxiety goes hand in hand with individuals who have experienced trauma. So we do a lot of trauma work, a lot of anxiety work, and then the other piece that we often see is if people have not stepped into using their anxiety to their benefit, they often end up getting pulled into a place of depression. So in that, we will often see people who are depressed. We try to catch them early so that they don't end up going down what we call the rabbit hole of depression. But then again, at some point, people may have already experienced that, and that's when they reach out. So really what we are looking at is we're working with people who have anxiety and then having that attached to other situations or experiences.
How does one use their anxiety to their benefit? I've never heard it put quite like that.
So it's interesting. We find people have a very large misconception of what anxiety actually is. We work with our patients to kind of untangle what anxiety is. One of the big things that we work on is we like people to understand fear is one emotion, anxiety is a different emotion, and it is not actually aligning with fear. People often confuse that, and they think, anxiety is backing up and aligning with fear, and it is not. So fear has one mission, and that is to make sure you are safe. It wants you to be physically safe, and it also wants you to be emotionally safe. That's it. It does not want you to be happy. It does not want you to go out and enjoy your life. It only wants you to be safe. Now, anxiety's mission is it appreciates you being safe, but anxiety is actually trying to get your attention when fear is telling you something that, number one, is not 100% accurate, or number two, fear is telling you to walk away from your values, or number three, fear is somehow or other telling you not to step into an opportunity that life is presenting you. When any of those things are going off and fear is actually pulling you in the wrong direction, this is when we feel anxiety. And our anxiety is trying to get our attention because it wants us to step into our values. It wants us to step into these opportunities. It wants us to figure out what is correct and accurate for us, not let fear dictate our lives.
How many people do you think miss their calling in life because of anxiety and fear?
Oh, goodness. I would have to say quite a few. Quite a few people. And we see this, day in and day out. People who are walking around in lives that they feel are actually not their own. Maybe their parents said they were supposed to do something, or they felt like they weren't allowed to, or they're not good enough, or somehow or other, if they do that, they're going to get emotionally hurt. So they don't step into their own lives and try them on and figure out that was good or maybe it wasn't. Again, anxiety wants you to make your decisions and figure out what is working and what is not working, and then align yourself in that direction. And we see so many individuals who are stuck because they feel like I have some type of purpose maybe I'm supposed to be pursuing, but they don't even know what it is because they have so much chatter that's going off in their minds that don't, can't, threat, fear, that they have just really become stuck. They become immobilized, and they're not actually walking into their lives.
Well, I know parents can play a big role like that with children, where if the parent is too aggressively trying to steer the child into a particular way, or maybe a career path or something like that, and the child just doesn't want to do it. And there can often be this sort of guilt that children feel. I'm speaking from voice of experience here with my parents. And, it was a big battle with them. And in the end, they won. And I didn't do really what I thought I should do. I came back to it 20 years later after I had sort of...
Congratulations.
Well, thank you. Better late than never. But I sort of fulfilled my, requirement to have a real job for 20 years and a pension plan and all that stuff rather than pursue my artistic endeavors. So
endeavors, certainly, yeah.
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 So I know how that
as
goes.
Kids,
yeah.
Yeah, as kids, that's that place, right? Of if I don't do this, am I going to not be loved, right? So we make decisions based on, right? I want to be safe. I want to be loved. I want to be respected. I want to be,
well, you want to please
thought
your
that I'm
parents.
good enough, that I count, all those things, right?
You want to please your parents because you love them and you respect them, and they were good parents. I'm not knocking them down because they did what they thought they should do. It's the time that they grew up in was very different. People didn't. People didn't become artists for a living. We went to college, got a degree
you want to do what?
Yeah, you went to college, you got a degree in business or engineering, and you worked for a big firm for 20 years, and you got the gold watch, and that's how life was for them, and that just wasn't
exactly. And this is, yeah, and we work with our people to recognize and help them. It's not about, we're not trying to blame anybody, right? Because our parents are doing it out of a place of love and of caring, or they're just doing the best that they can or the best that they know. So it's not intentional, right? But we, as children, right, we want to make them proud. We want to make them feel something. But that's also something we work with our clients on, recognizing we actually don't have the magic wand to bop people on the head and say, oh, now you're going to feel happy. Oh, and you're going to feel sad. And, oh, guess what? You're going to feel excited. We don't have that ability. We have a misconception that we have that capability, but really the only thing we are able to do is control ourselves, our own thoughts, our own feelings, our own efforts, our own words, and trying to make somebody else feel something. That's when we start going in the wrong direction.
Well, I would agree with you. Let me switch this over to something else that's on your bio. It says you were pronounced dead for 9 minutes and came back with more of a purpose. That's a pretty interesting thing. What do you remember about those 9 minutes? Anything?
So I wish I could say, yes, I saw the brilliant light and lovely people were there to greet me, but I honestly do not have any memory of that. I feel like my brain has been very kind to me. It knew that none of that difficulty, pain, and trauma at the end of the day was going to be useful, and so it has just made it a hazy erase from my life. So I had been diagnosed with breast cancer back in 2019, and then went through chemotherapy and radiation and lumpectomies and all the rigmarole with that. And then finally we were doing breast reconstructive surgery, which I was extremely excited about. And it was after the reconstructive surgery that I had a blood clot that created a pulmonary embolism that put me into cardiac arrest.
Oh, wow.
And so by the time they finally got me to the hospital, I had already been legally dead for over 9 minutes. They were able to bring me back, but I crashed immediately again. And it was this constant, bring me back, crash, bring me back, crash. So they decided to put me in a hypothermic coma, kind of freeze me for 3 days, and then slowly wake me up while they tried to clear the clot. And that thankfully worked fabulously. But it did take quite a while once I came back into this world for me to reestablish walking, talking, speaking, eating, all those things that the brain basically all those things started to unravel during that time. But I do remember being in the hospital and kind of waking up and having that moment of, okay, so why am I still here? Is there something I'm still supposed to be doing? And I had that little voice that popped into my head that said, well, you know, your patients always say, the way you talk about anxiety, Natalie, I've never heard anyone talk about it that way. You should write a book. And, of course, I always go, yeah. You know, in my free time between 2 and 4 in the morning, I'll do that. So when I heard that, I said, okay, maybe I'm supposed to write this book. So that is when I decided to kind of dive in and put all the information and the way that I talk about anxiety into a format so I could reach as many people as possible. You know, I can only see so many one-on-one clients, and particularly with the pandemic and just so much that's been going on with the world, we just see anxiety levels are rising and rising and rising and rising. So I felt like it was time for me to put what I know into a format where I could reach as many people as possible, and that hopefully they can walk away with something. And I want them to walk away with tools and understanding and things and skills that they can use. And so that's what led me then to write this book.
Okay. So the book basically covers what we've just been talking about, more specifically.
Yes, it goes through, I interweave moments of my own life and how I saw it and why what I'm telling other people to do, how it makes sense, and they can see me applying it. So I go through and discuss what anxiety is, how they can use anxiety, how anxiety is actually a really good friend. It is a loud friend. It is an obnoxious friend. And it does follow you around all day long, but it's trying to get your attention because, again, it wants you to experience your best self. And so recognizing that and using that, and then, again, intertwining my story in that, I have people kind of go through and understand why these techniques work and how they can use those techniques.
Okay, great. Well, I think on that, we're going to wind this down. Thank you so much for coming on the show. It says that the book will be out early next year. Was that last year or this year?
That was last year. It's supposed to be coming out at the end of this month in January.
Okay.
You can order it by pre-sale right now at helloanxiety.net. And hopefully then by the end of January, you'll be able to find it at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Target, Walmart, all of the booksellers.
Okay. So it's available for pre-order now?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you have a personal website you want to give out, or do you want to just use that one, the book one?
So you can use the book one. My other personal website is serenitytreehouse.com, and that's where you can find the different individuals that are here at the practice and see some of the things that they work with, different ages and different ways to address, again, anxiety, trauma, and depression. So they can always reach out at that or at helloanxiety.net.
Okay, great. Well, again, thank you for coming on the show. It was nice meeting you, nice talking to you, and best of luck with the book launch. I hope it does well.
Thank you so much, Douglas. I so appreciate being able to speak with you today.